Hello and welcome back to our cottage garden. Thank you so much to everyone that left kind comments or joined us after our segment on Gardener's World last week. It really was lovely reading your messages, and seeing the programme was just so exciting. So yeah, that was wonderful, and really pleased with how they put it together and how the story came across. And if you missed it, I think it's still on iPlayer if you want to catch up on it. It was episode 12, I think. So today I thought I'd show you round, show you some of the roses that are in flower, like you can see behind me. They're a bit staggered, so not every single plant is flowering at the moment. So I thought I'll show you the ones that are looking good. And we've got a few things to add to the garden and a couple of jobs to do together as well, like starting a new raised bed. So let's start down here. Behind me, we have Olivia Rose Austin, and you might remember these from last year's rose video, and it's quite nice to reflect on how things have grown in a year's time. All of our roses are quite new. The oldest ones are about 4 years, but the youngest ones are 1 year or less, and most of them are that young. So I'm going to deadhead this because it has quite a lot of spent flowers on, but this one always does the best out of all of our roses. I think it loves the soil and the sunny position. And even before the first flush of flowers has finished, it's got way more blooms on there that are ready to open up soon as well. So I'm going to take off the spent flowers. Next door to Olivia Rose Austin, we have Compassion, which is this huge flower with kind of a yellow centre and soft pink petals. This one does really well. And I tried to train it to cover the fence, but it really is keen to go upwards. So it's really tall this year. But lots and lots of buds on there, so there won't be long to wait until we can see that one. But I think Olivia Rose Austin is the one that's looking the best at the moment. But I'll show you the smaller one that I planted at the same time for reference, and you can see how well that one's done for being in the ground. So as you can see, this is the smaller Olivia Rose Austin plant, and this one needs pretty much complete deadhead. It's finished flowering for the first flush now, but the size difference is amazing. And this one's in a pot. I've been watering it quite a lot recently because it's really dry at the moment, and it hasn't rained here for about 3 or 4 weeks. So it's quite tricky keeping things in pots at the moment. But I gave it some lovely new compost over the winter while it was dormant, hoping that would keep it going, but I don't think it's quite enough. So I think I did say this last year, but I should put this in the ground, give it some room to get its roots down. But it's a lovely little thing. So that's this one deadheaded. Next I'm going to show you the progress that I've made on my rose hedge since last year. So last year I showed you the start of this rose hedge that I'm currently working on. I think it's 2 or 3 years old now, but these are Emily Bronte, and they're really, really lovely, and they don't mind a little bit of shade. So I've been trying to strike a balance and prune this tree back to give them a little bit of sunlight, and they seem to be doing okay, so that's really, really good. They've grown a lot since last year as well, much more than I expected them to, perhaps a little bit taller than I would like, so might prune those harder in the winter. But the flowers look really lovely. They're a kind of orangey yellow centre and then soft pink petals on the outside. And then on the very end, I have a rose called Sceptred Isle, and I just put that there because I didn't have anywhere else to put it. It doesn't quite match these, but I think it still looks nice. And when we moved in, this bed was completely full of crocosmia that had just multiplied and made a really dense mat of bulbs. So I have pulled them all out, but you'll see they do pop up occasionally. And there's, I can see 4 or 5 that I'm just going to lift out now. You'll probably notice that the garden does need quite a bit of weeding. I have not been able to keep on top of the weeds this time of year. So I'll just lift the kind of baby crocosmias out while I'm going. I went to the garden centre this morning and picked up some geraniums to underplant these roses with, because the soil is bare in the summer. In the spring there's loads of bulbs here and we get lots of lovely muscari, but in the summer it's bare soil and it doesn't look very nice, so I wanted to get something growing underneath them. So I've got these geraniums. These geraniums are called plenum or plenum, correct me on the pronunciation if you know it. They're a double flowered variety and lovely purple colour. So there's a couple of flowers on there now, but I tried to pick plants that hadn't flowered yet so that we can still look forward to seeing those in the garden. So I'm going to weed this area a little bit, put these about 30 centimetres away from the rose plants so that the roots don't get too close to each other, and then hopefully we'll have a few more flowers in this area as the weeks go on. So there you go, we've got our geraniums in the ground, and it's just really good to know that something's going to be starting to cover that ground because it really was looking bare. But this is coming along really nicely, and again, just a good example of how gardening is a case of patience for a lot of things. My aim is to slowly work my way around the edge of this bit of the garden, working on the borders, but I think it's going to take years. So I'm pleased with the start, and now I'm going to show you a few more of our roses. So this one is Seagull or Rambling Rector, and it's here to be climbed up this plum tree. This one went in last year, and now it's probably about 2 and a bit meters tall. So it's put on a lot of growth, and really nice to see it flowering, because last year we didn't see, I think we may have seen a couple, but not really. So loads of flowers on this one, just single petaled variety. So it's really nice for the pollinators. But yeah, again, pleased with how this one's done and looking forward to seeing it take over this tree in the next few years. Along the edge of the garden we have these very ugly trellises that we're working on covering, and this is year 1 now of training things to grow on them so that we can eventually get them screened. So this rose is Francis Leicester, and similar to the previous rose that I showed you, just a single petaled rambling rose, and really good for the pollinators, loads and loads of flowers on there. I don't know if this one repeat flowers, I imagine it doesn't, but if anyone has a better idea, let me know. But I'm really pleased with how many flowers we've got on here, considering that this area is quite shady. So yeah, really pleased with that. I think planting it was a bit of a gamble because of the shade, but it seems to have paid off. And then next to it we've got the clematis, which is an evergreen clematis, so hopefully would help cover this as time goes on. But we're getting there. Again, it's just a thing that's going to take a few years until it looks good, but really, really pleased with the progress so far. Same story again with the trellis situation. So we have 4 roses climbing on this trellis, and one of them is Emily Bronte, one of them is Felicity Perpetu, something like that. The other 2, I'm not sure what the names are, but a single petaled white rose and a double petaled creamy white rose. And again, just really want to screen this trellis, and since last year it's made a lot of progress, so that's really good. And the flowers on Emily Bronte are so pretty. I really love that rose. That's one of the ones from David Austin. So I've climbed into the border to show you the next one, and this is the first year I've seen this one flower properly because I was moving it around quite a lot and not sure where to put it. But it's really, really lovely. I think it will be good for this one to get a bit stronger and get stronger stems, because the flowers are so big they're kind of drooping a little bit. But really, really stunning. And some more flower heads on there, and the colour of those is like a blushy kind of pink. So pretty, so I'm really pleased with this one. So this rose here is called Lakeland, and this is a rose that my dad bought me for my birthday a couple of years ago, and I think I really underestimated the size of this one because I built a kind of structure for it to climb up and it just was not big enough, and this one is just going to keep going, I think. So either I'll try and move it when it's dormant in the winter. I really like having something in the middle here, but perhaps a more compact rose would be better, or I'll try and build a bigger structure for it. I'm not sure, so if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. I know it's not ideal to move roses as well, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. I don't mind. It's a lovely thing, pink open flowered variety, and again another one that the pollinators really like, so that's great. I also have a mystery David Austin rose in this bed. Cannot for the life of me remember what it is. It's one of the ones that we got given for our wedding, and I have been really disorganised and not labelled them. So if you recognise it, do let me know. It looks a bit like Silas Mana or Sceptred Isle. Perhaps it's another Sceptred Isle, I'm not sure. A pale pink double petalled one, and a shrub rose. But I've got a couple more to show you. Another David Austin rose next to the shed. This one is Silas Mana, and we got this one as a wedding gift, but we really liked the name because our dog is named Silas after the book Silas Mana, and Epi, who is also in the book. So this was one that we really wanted to grow, and it's looking lovely and putting on lots of growth. And some nice things around it too, like this foxglove. This is Mortonensis, and it's the most perennial foxglove, so this one's been in here for about possibly 3 years now, and looks like it's self-seeded a bit too, so that's really lovely. This rose here is called Eden. I think it possibly has another name in the UK, but in the States it's known as Eden. And I ordered this one after seeing it on some Facebook groups for growing roses. And I really love the way that it's a vibrant pink in the middle and it fades to a softer, almost white colour on the edges. And again, the plan with this is to train it over this archway, but it's only been in the ground for a year or even less than that. So this is the first time I've seen it flower. It's really, really lovely, and just another one. I can't wait for it to continue to grow and eventually make its way over this archway. These arches, I feel like it's taken me a really, really long time to get them covered, partly because I insisted on growing things from cuttings or 9 centimetre pots, so really, really small. But once they're done, it will be worth it and they will look lovely. So this is where I'm going to be putting our new raised bed. And if you watched our last video, you'll remember we have quite a lot of seedlings that I need to get in the ground, annual flowers mainly, and nowhere to put them. So I thought I will start a new no-dig bed here. I've had this tarp down for the last couple of weeks just to give us a head start and start killing the grass off, especially because we've been doing no mow May. It's not essential to put tarp down, but it will help us have a bit of control over the long grass. And I'll be strimming this soon as well. But I'm gonna remove this tarp and then lay some cardboard on top and then cover that with organic matter and finally a layer of compost, and that should give us something that we can plant into straight away so that we've got somewhere to grow our annual flowers. And I've never grown annual flowers before, so I'm quite excited, and I have been meaning to do this for a while, but I just haven't had time. I'm keen to open up a few more beds around the garden if I can find the space, but we'll see how we get on. This is the only patch of space we've got left where we grow vegetables. If I do start to do any more beds after this one, it will mean going back into the orchard slightly. So I want to think about that before I do it. That's good, the grass is starting to die back a bit. Conveniently, we've got loads of cardboard at the moment. We've been getting it through work, so that is quite helpful. So the cardboard will break down over time, but it should survive long enough to kill off the grass underneath, which is what we need so it doesn't grow through the bed. So that's why we start with a base layer of cardboard. I've taken all of the tape off it, so there's no plastic on it either. I thought about putting another raised bed here with the sleepers in, but the price of everything has gone up so much. I think it worked out about £300 to get enough sleepers to do another raised bed. So we're going for cardboard, and then I'm going to pick up some edging from Facebook Marketplace that someone's throwing away. So this should be quite a cost-effective way of doing it. And I'm just going to try and leave enough space so that I can get the mower across the grass when I do need to mow. For the next layer, I think I'm going to use some of the waste product from cleaning out the ducks. I was going to put some of our homemade compost on here, even if it hadn't finished composting, but we noticed we've got slow worms or snakes, really, really long things, living in our compost bins. So we don't want to disturb them. So I'm going to use some duck mess for the next layer just to build up the size of it. So now we've got the kind of filling of the duck mess, and that's going to compost down. And I know with chicken mess you can't do this because I think it will burn your plants, but with duck mess it's fine to use it straight in the garden, as long as it's not going to touch your food and your food plants. But this is for flowers, so we should be fine. Next I'm going to add, I've got 120 litres of compost. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, but that's all we're working with, so I might just have to spread it quite thinly on top for now. I'm going to bring that in. So I think we're actually looking good on the compost front. Thankfully we did have enough. We've got a nice big layer of stuff, and that will all rot down over the months. And I must admit, after doing all of those other raised beds out of sleepers and spending a fortune on the wood, this was a much more satisfying process, and it came together with way less effort and felt much more rewarding actually. So I'm really pleased with that. I'm going to go and grab our flowers now and we can plant this up. So I've got my first tray of annuals here. I've got 2 trays in total, and they've all been sown from seed this year. Most of these are asters. So I've got Aster Duchess Apricot, which is really big fluffy flowers, kind of similar to how a dahlia would look, and a nice soft colour. And I've also got Aster King Size Apple Blossom, which is another lovely soft pink colour. So I'm going to get these in the ground. I reckon I've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18... probably about 20 plants, and then I've also got some Nicotiana as well that was given to me by my mother-in-law, and I haven't grown that before, but really looking forward to it, and hopefully this will make a nice cutting patch. So let's get started. So here's the almost finished cut flower patch. I went to pick up these Victorian edging tiles and have sunk them into the bed, and I've just got 4 more to do, but it's so hot out here. I keep coming out in the evenings to finish it, so I think I'll come out tonight and get the last 4 in. And I also built this frame to support the plants out of willow. I think I've built it a little bit too tall, so I might edit it and lower them slightly, because I think these are going to want supporting at a bit of a lower height. But other than that, this area is pretty much done, and now we just wait for our cut flowers to be ready. But there you go, there's a tour of most of our rose plants, not all of them. Some of them aren't looking particularly interesting at the moment, so as those ones start to flower, I'll show you them in our upcoming garden videos. But I hope you've enjoyed, and it's really nice to reflect on the progress that's been made, even in just 1 year. And I'm really excited to think about how these will look in another year's time. I was going to do some work with you in the polytunnel today, but it's just way too hot, so I think I will save that for another video and try and get out here when it's a bit cooler in the evening. But stuff's really gaining momentum, and the tomatoes are looking great. I can't wait to show you the fruit and veg that I've got planted up in the tunnel, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to see how our garden develops over the months and years, be sure to give us a subscribe.